Hi, so my name is Dan James Jones. I'm just going to talk about something that's really passionate that I'm really passionate about. I just want to try and understand in my head and sort of get it out verbally. One of the things that I just really wanted to chat about today was a post that came on to my Facebook. It's a myth that religion is the number one cause of war. And I agree with them from a start. Okay, like something that studying history taught me over 3 years is that it's very unlikely that there's going to be one cause for something. After writing something, I had a few responses, and I just want to sort of just really think through these responses that were made by Christians. Okay, at the very heart of all wars is sin, which is man's flagrant disobedience to God's law and way of life. Ergo, man's sin is the cause of all wars, not God. And then he says, anyone who thinks otherwise has no understanding of the Bible. Okay, I'm gonna pass over that last sentence. Okay, before time began, okay, before God had created anything. This, by the way, I don't hold this view. This is a view that these guys are holding. I'm trying to put my Christian head on, trying to understand what they're saying. So, before God ever started making anything, before he made time, before he made space, the Christian believes, or this particular type of Christian believes that God planned out history. So he planned out every single thing that was going to happen in history. He planned out what you were going to eat tomorrow. Sin becomes irrelevant because God planned every single sin that human was going to do as well. He planned that Adam and Eve were going to eat the fruit. He planned that the sins that lead to all these wars were going to take place. You have to say that God is the progenitor of all wars because he's the progenitor of everything. You know, if you're going to say that God is responsible for the flowers and the plants and for the beautiful sunsets and the rainbows, you also have to say that he is the progenitor, he's the starter, the father of everything else on this planet. God had to plan everything in order for Christ to die for their sins as well. So this same group of people, they usually call Calvinists, they call themselves Calvinists. Whether this is actually what Calvin believed, whether these were actually his 5 points or not, is debatable, and people debate about it everywhere. But they say that Christ died through limited atonement. He died only for those who were going to be saved. So therefore, he died for a limited amount of sin. So he died for every single sin that a human has ever committed, was committing at that moment, and will ever commit in the future. And maybe I'm getting a bit too passionate about this. It doesn't really matter. It's a bit silly. I'm not really that passionate about it. Oh, it's man's fault for the wars and the terrible things that happen on this planet because of sin. This is sort of the most efficient way, the most efficient history that God has used in order to bring about the most glory to himself, because he's that sort of God. He wants all the glory for himself because he deserves it. But the fact is, maybe he will put everything right. Maybe we'll get to heaven and we'll be like, oh, that's why you allowed the Holocaust to happen. Oh, that's why you allowed all those people to die in the Rwandan genocide, because it brought about the greatest glory possible for you. And maybe we'll be maybe the Christians will be in heaven worshipping God, saying, well done, you've done a great thing with history because you dealt with man's sin. I don't know. What frustrates me the most is Christians who don't, like, this guy is like, he's a lot older than me, but I can't believe there's somebody who's lived all those years and has never sat down and thought, wait a minute, maybe my theology is slightly wrong here because it doesn't really make sense. We will get punished as human beings for our sin, for the choices that God has already made that we would do. So all the terrible news stories you hear on the TV, God planned those. God sat down before time began and thought, right, how am I going to bring my glory? I know, I'm going to get women to stay in a basement for 10 years, and then I'll let everyone praise me when they're let out. He predestined Christians. If you're a Calvinist, you believe 5 points, tulip, total depravity. Humans, I'm going to do another post about this in the future because I'm just rambling on too long. But one of the things you believe is unconditional election. You believe that before time began, God not only planned history out, he also picked the people who are going to be saved in the future. And then you have to believe that he didn't pick the others. If you're going to go and say that religion is not the number one cause of sin, cause of war, that's fine. You can believe that. And I think you're right. I think you just study history for 3 years and you'll see that there are countless reasons why wars happen. You can't hold on the one hand human responsibility, which I was taught growing up. I was taught, yes, you can hold human responsibility on the one hand and you can hold God's will on the other. And they're like railway tracks that are separated to you they seem separate, but in the distance, far distance, they meet together. And in heaven one day we'll see how man's responsibility and God's will fit together. Now if you want a cop-out, that's a cop-out. But God's sovereignty in my head will always override human responsibility. It will always override human will, because God has ordained man to make those sins in order for his full glory to be fulfilled. Telling people that they're going to go to hell and that God wants them to be saved, but at the same time hold that God has predestined people to be saved. And technically, I know you say, oh, but you don't know who's been predestined and who isn't. Well, let people let people live their lives out. If God's already predestined somebody, what's the point in going out and trying to find them? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this first rant. I'm going to do lots more rants in the future, and I need to clarify. I just want people to think about what they believe and why they believe it. That's the summary at the end of the day, is that how are we to blame for God's plan? For God's micromanaging plan that he's decided before time. Why are we to blame for that? Comments below, please, that'd be great. If you want more, just like this video or dislike it. I don't care. I just want people to show that they're watching this, and let me know if you want to see more. Thank you. Bye.